Welcome back to Fez Hot Glass / Uncle Fezzy's Mad Lab. So, what was today's project? Well, it's kind of interesting. Because everybody loves to wallow in my misery, I thought this would be a pretty good video to do. So, it's over there on the floor. I'm not going to go grab it. But my partner introduced me to a vacuum pump for making certain glass items. Tube cane to be 100% correct, but the truth of the matter is you can use this device for multiple different things while blowing glass. Yeah, not for nothing, sucking in on a piece of glass while you're blowing glass is not a good idea. And there are a couple of reasons. It's hot, noxious chemicals, the possibility of inhaling microscopic pieces of glass. It's just not a good idea. And I say that while I sit here with a cigarette in my hand. So I'm, whatever. It's just not a very good idea. So, my partner has a vacuum pump, which was cool. I used it the other day and I said, man, that thing is awesome. I want to get one of those. So I go on to Amazon and I order all of the Chinesium that I need to build a vacuum pump. Well, and I did everything times 2 for about $79. And with a couple very small exceptions, every single thing that I ordered was completely fucking useless. So, let's show, just real quick, I want to show what I got, or what I ordered to put this thing together. With the vacuum pump's right here, it's put together. This is a classic case of why do something once when you can do it twice for 3 times the price. Which is basically exactly what I've done here. So, the original piece is actually, it's a 4x4 inch box. I looked high and low for vacuum pumps that had the inlets facing outward so I could mount the pump on the box. And I found them, right? Apparently I didn't properly read the description, because why would I read the description thoroughly and understand it? So I ordered 2. They were $12 a piece. Vacuum pumps. Well, this is what showed up. I read the description actually, and it gave me the size in metric, which I then had to convert into imperial because I'm everything but the metric system. And pipe tubing is one of the banes of my existence. So the description listed these as 3mm inlets and outlets. Well, it's 3mm OD, not 3mm ID. 3mm ID is what I wanted. The holes in this thing are like 1mm in diameter, and it just doesn't have enough ass to suck down glass. It just doesn't. So that was failure number 1. Failure number 2 was, these are 5.5 volts. So I ordered 2 5.5 volt power supplies. Well, these are now useless because, well, they're not totally useless, but they're basically useless now because I'm not using these pumps. Okay, so there's $30. Then I ordered job boxes that would fit the pump. And then I cut a hole in the top of the box because this pump did not fit in the box. Okay? Well, because this shit was wrong, I ordered these pumps. Well, these pumps show up. Well, these pumps don't fit in the boxes that I ordered. Being the nitwit that I am, I cut a hole in not one, but both boxes, because why would I not do that? Before my power supply showed up. Well, not for nothing, the plug in the wall power supplies like this don't have enough voltage or amperage actually to run this pump. This pump's actually pretty high draw. This little electric motor is it's 12 volts and 12 watts. Now these things only put out milliamps. They don't even put, I don't even think they list wattage on these things. Yeah, it's just output 3 volts and 1 amp, but the voltage, the amperage output on these things is pretty low, unless you get the block kind. And I didn't get those because those were twice the price of these. These are pretty big, and these will take the power. These will run fine. These are pretty heavy duty 12 volt power supplies, but they're also, again, won't fit in the box. Right? So I got to put this pump in this box, and this power supply could be just dangling around, but I'm gonna be honest with you, my partner's is like that, and I don't like it because it dangles off. It's just not neat. It's kind of crappy. So there was another purchase all the stuff. So then this morning, I had an epiphany that, well, you know what? Maybe I'll put it in a job box. So I go to Depot to get a job box. I wanted a 4x4x4 job box, which would have fit this perfectly, and it didn't work. They didn't have any 4x4x4 job boxes, but what they did have was 6x6x4. So I bought a 6x6x4 job box. Though the other thing I bought was from Amazon with the switches. Now these actually are correct, and these did work, so that was the first thing I bought. Of the 4 things that I bought, only 2 of them worked. 4, 5, 6. Of the 6 items that I bought to make this, only 2 of them worked. And this is one of them. The other was the silicone tubing, which was a kind of a shot in the dark because, like I said, my tubing, me and tubing don't get along. I-D-O-D, E-I-E-I-O. Now this is insanely long because I haven't put this in the position where I want to put it yet. And I got to make 2 of these things. One for me, one for my partner. He wants a spare, so I'm probably gonna make 2 of those. I'm gonna make 2 of them. Now I was gonna go through the entire process of how I modified this box, and I came up with this whole plan. Blah 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 blah. Nobody wants to watch that. It's already, you've probably already shut off my video. So what I did was, let me check my shot here. Okay, that's good enough. So what I have going on here is I went over to Depot and paid 3 times more for this job box than I should have. I had laying around a piece of 3/4 inch birch plywood. So I cut the plywood out. So it fits in the bottom of the box, because I didn't, I could have just run the zip ties through the bottom of the box. I didn't really want to do that. So I figured out where I wanted to mount the power supply, which is here, and the vacuum pump, which is here, and I drilled holes in the plywood. Oh, the other thing I had to do with the plywood was take a router and route out the bottom of it, because where the injection mold goes in, where they inject the plastic, there was a nipple in the bottom of the box. So I had to relieve the piece of plywood so the plywood would sit flat in the bottom of the box, or else it would rock around. So I had to do that. So then I ran zip ties through the bottom. I did a lot of soul searching about this before I installed it using zip ties. And at the end of the day, the zip ties are more than sufficient to do what I needed to do. The other thing I did was I cut a hole in the box here to allow to plug the power supply in and out. If you wanted to get a longer power supply cord, because this cord is actually a little bit short, you could get a longer one of these. This is just a standard 110 volt power supply. I think this is I don't even know what it is. Let's look at the thing here. I forget what the output is on this, but it's more than sufficient for what I'm doing. If you don't realize, or you didn't know this, yeah, 6 amps at 60 watts. So this thing, we got plenty of room on the power supply to run this pump. The pump is 6 watts. This is putting out 60 watts. This is actually for a computer or something. If you want to run a laptop or whatever you wanted to run that was 12 volts off it. These actually are pretty nice for 12 bucks or whatever it was I paid for them. They come with the plug with outlets on it. Now, one of the things I don't understand about these is how are you supposed to attach this to something? There's no way to attach this. You know, unless I'm missing something somewhere, there is no way to make this a nice, neat installation. So what I did was, instead of having instead of having the power supply outside, I put the power supply in the box, and I just put the 12 volt power cord is just zip tied inside of there. And then I installed the switch, which is attached to this too. So theoretically, you can take all this stuff apart. Now, the other thing with this is this pump sucks and it blows. So, but blowing isn't something I necessarily need, but I wanted to have the option to be able to do that. So this is the output. They didn't have any bulkhead fittings, no bulkhead connections at Depot. Why would they? So this is just zip tied in. It's not going to come out. And theoretically, if you wanted to, you could push this wire into here and have the wire on the inside and pull it out as you needed it. And then the stop is the zip ties. Now I know that seems a little shoddy to do it that way, but I mean, quite honest with you, I take a lot of stuff apart, and not for nothing, I see a ton of zip ties used in places where I really would never use a zip tie. And the other thing I did was I drilled through the bottom of the box, and I used my cutting board feet, which I have a ton of, and some wood screws to hold the piece of plywood into the bottom of the box. So this thing really can't go anywhere. The other thing I had to do was this pump doesn't sit flush with itself. Why would it? Why would that work? And there's no way to attach this pump to anything. There's no fixtures, there's no ears, there's no nothing on this pump to hold it down. So really zip ties is the only option, unless you make a bracket to go around it. I don't have a 3D printer. I don't have, this was probably, I'd have to look at it, but I may have been able to use a conduit holder to hold it down, which I should have bought it, but I didn't. And there's a space in the bottom. So what I did was I took some of that PVA foam that I use all the time for stuff. I got a piece of it laying around here somewhere. And I stuck that underneath the pump right here to just give it a little bit of space, and then I cranked those zip ties down as hard as I possibly could. These are Chinesium zip ties, I think. So my, I'm fairly certain that even though they are cheap zip ties, that they should last forever, because they won't be exposed to the weather. And this thing isn't really going to put out a lot of heat. Even though it's sucking hot gas in, it should be okay. We're going to find out. And like I said, I built 2 of these. The one that my partner has lasted for a long time. So, and he abuses the crap out of his to the point where it sounds like it's ready to come apart. That's why we're building 2 of them. And that's about it. The other option I was going to use was this metal strapping. You could use plastic strapping. They make this stuff in plastic, but I've had kind of limited success with that stuff on, I consider this soft items. If it's made out of plastic, it's soft. I'm old. What do you expect? So that's it. I'm going to save everybody the torture of watching me build this, because it's really stupid to bother. I mean, if you can't figure it out from looking at it here, then maybe it's not a project that you'd be totally interested in. If there is any interest in showing me build this thing from scratch, then I can do that, but you know, whatever. I will be putting up a video of how this thing is used later. I'm going to put the top on this, and we're going to call it done. So it's all installed. And of course I leaned down on a piece of broken glass while I was on the floor, and I poked a hole in my finger. Delicious. Tastes like Captain Morgan. So, what do I got going on here? Well, I'm gonna need the flashlight. Check the. Oh yeah, there's glass all over the place. So what I did was I mounted the whole thing up here underneath my bench, and then the power cord runs down there to a little foot treadle, or I added the little foot switch to my crossbar here. Eventually, actually, I was thinking about putting foot pedals, attaching foot pedals to that bar, and then the power line goes up there, and here's the vacuum line. So, there you go. The other thing is, shameless plug, if anybody's local to the southeastern Pennsylvania area or the tri-state area, there is the Media Fine Arts and Crafts Festival is April 21st, 2024 on State Street in Media. It runs from 11 to 4. I will be there live and in living color with my lovely wife, who's selling paintings, but we're going to be there all day. So if you see any artwork of mine that you would be interested in purchasing online at my Good Boy Facebook account, which is Fez Hot Glass, please be sure to check that out, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. I hate shameless plugs, but quite frankly, it never hurts, or it doesn't hurt anymore. The other place that I will be showing is April 27th and 28th at Oaks. There is a Canna Med Fair there, Canna Med Fest. So if you imbibe and you're interested in that type of thing, I will be there also selling my functional glass art items with my partner, who has a lot of functional glass art. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.